Hey guys, Brian and Shane here from Whelan Cameras. In this video we're going to talk a little bit about the new Nikon Z5. So I'm going to run you through some of the photography features. Shane's going to talk a little bit about the video. I'm going to compare it to the Z6 and you're going to compare it to the Z50.
That's the plan.
So here we go. Woo. So the Nikon Z5, what's it all about? Well, it's Nikon's latest camera and it's an entry-level, full-frame, mirrorless camera. So here are the specs. If you want to read them, just pause the video now. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what makes the Z5 different from a slightly bigger brother, the Z6. The big difference is the Z6 is a back illuminated sensor where this one doesn't. Now that might make a difference in low light shooting, but Nikon have assured us that the processor in this machine more than makes up for that fact. Now, looking at the camera physically, the top panel is slightly different from the Z6. Instead, they've moved the mode dial over here, which I find ergonomically very, very nice because my thumb is ready to change my settings, and if I need to change my mode, I can do so very, very quickly, all with my thumb and my forefinger. Big change is the card slot. This camera has a dual SD card slots instead of the one XUD card slot that was in the Z6. Now, while it does take the NEL15 battery, it now takes the NEL15C battery. Big difference with that, you can charge it with the USB cable, but you can also now use the camera while you have something plugged into the USB cable. What comes with it straight out of the bat is the eye autofocus. Now, most cameras have that these days, but this one has animal and human eye detection without having to update your firmware. I find this to be absolutely crucial when you're taking your portrait shots. Coming from an SLR, I always had my thumb on the autofocus point button and I was constantly moving them to make sure my focus point was on the person's eye. This camera, you're only going to move side to side to pick between each eye. That's as simple as that. That is a game changer. So the final feature that I really like in this camera is the in-body stabilization. Now, it's put in there a lot of the time now for video shooters that you can walk around handheld. But I want to see what it can do in terms of photography. So I'm just going to take a couple of pictures now at different speeds in my hands and see how slow I can make it go while actually still getting a nice sharp picture.
Alright guys, so Brian is out comparing this to the Z6 and he's getting a really good feel for this camera, and I'm interested actually comparing it to the Z50, because if you're looking at an entry level or an enthusiast camera, you definitely would be looking at the Z50 because it seems like the right fit. However, for a significant number of people, I think they should be looking at the Z5. And there's a couple of reasons and there's some key differences between the two that I think you really need to be aware of. The first is obviously that full frame sensor, okay? So it's pretty cool that we're now able to get full frame sensors in entry level and enthusiast cameras, and obviously you're gonna get a wider field of view, but not only that, it's also got more megapixels. So this is a 24 megapixel sensor as opposed to the 21 on the Z50. So more megapixels, but more space for those megapixels. So that's gonna improve your resolution and your low light capability. So definitely a massive plus. You're also gonna be able to use the full range of the Z mount with this guy, and really the Z mount was designed for full frame. So although it works on the APS-C crop, it's definitely made for full frame, and you're going to get the best use out of those full frame lenses. So it's got a better resolution, a larger sensor, you're going to be able to take longer shots, and you get 2 SD cards. So it's definitely something for anyone who's a travel photographer, or you're interested in kind of enthusiast street photography, that kind of stuff. Definitely something you want to be looking at, because it is that kind of an enthusiast entry-level full frame. However, the most important thing that I think for this camera is using it as a videographer. So there's two big differences between this and the Z50 for video. One is that it has a headphone port, whereas the Z50 doesn't. But the most important thing about this guy is the inbuilt stabilization. Now I know Brian is out there testing it out, the IBIS for photos, and there's loads of reasons why you'd want to have IBIS for photos. It can really help you in situations when you don't have a tripod but you wish you had one. But for video, it's definitely 100% a must. Using video without any kind of stabilizer, be it a digital stabilizer or a tripod or anything like that, you're going to get really nasty amateur handheld footage, and it's not going to look great. It's not going to do you well. Whereas having the IBIS actually makes a huge difference and pulls your footage up, and it means that you can run around and you don't have to have a gimbal, you don't have to have a tripod, you can just roll around. So for anyone who maybe is an enthusiast for video, maybe you're not like a high-end filmmaker, but you take a couple of clips on the odd shoot, or you like travel and you like want to take a nice video of a moment that you've seen and put it up on Facebook or Instagram, this is going to be the camera that you want. The Z50 will do it, but this will do it really well.
So that was brilliant, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. So a big shout out to Nikon. Thanks so much for supplying us with a brand new Z5 to play with. We're really grateful. It's been a wonderful camera. If you want to get your hands on it, pop into the shop, have a chat with us. Be sure to subscribe.